I tried things I'm not proud of. Pills I bought online without telling my doctor. A device I saw advertised late at night that I won't even describe here. None of it worked. I'm 83 now, and the thing that actually worked was something so plain that a real clinical study in men who took it nightly for 2 weeks found an average testosterone increase of about 24%. By the time I got desperate enough to try things I wasn't proud of, I'd already spent more money than I want to admit on products that did absolutely nothing. You've probably felt some version of that same desperation, trying one thing after another, feeling a little smaller each time it turned out it wasn't the answer. That 24% number is what finally stopped me chasing the wrong things. In a minute, I'll tell you exactly what produced it. Here's what I eventually learned after all that chasing. An erection depends on 3 systems working together: the hormonal side, the nervous system signal, and blood flow, governed by a molecule called nitric oxide that tells your arteries to relax and let blood in. Most of what I'd tried targeted the wrong piece entirely, or promised to fix everything at once, which should have been my first clue that something was off. Real physiology doesn't work in overnight miracles, and looking back, I think some part of me knew that even while I kept buying the next thing anyway. None of those products ever explained a mechanism. They just promised a result, and a result without a reason attached is exactly the kind of thing that should raise suspicion, even when you're desperate enough to ignore that instinct. I learned that the hard way, more than once. These days I have more energy and more peace of mind than I did during those years of chasing one product after another. I stopped feeling like I needed to hide something, which changed how I carried myself in ways that had nothing to do with the bedroom at all. At family dinners, at the store, just walking down the street. I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you because what finally worked wasn't another product chase. It was something simpler than anything I'd already tried. Here's the part that reframed everything. The blood vessels involved here are some of the smallest in your entire circulatory system, smaller than the ones feeding your heart. So circulation issues tend to show up here first, before anywhere else. Researchers who study this treat it as an early signal worth taking seriously, worth bringing to your doctor, not chasing with whatever product shows up in an ad at midnight. That single reframe did more for me than any of the products I'd wasted money on. I wasn't dealing with some shameful mystery. I was dealing with circulation, an ordinary, explainable part of my own physiology, the same system tied to my heart and my whole body. Something that could actually be supported rather than something I had to keep buying my way out of. For 3 years, I slept 3 feet away from my wife, and it felt like 300 miles. She'd fall asleep first. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, wide awake, feeling like a roommate in my own marriage. I thought something was wrong with me. It wasn't weakness, and it wasn't just age. Here's what no one ever sits a man down to explain. This isn't about willpower. It's about specific systems in your body quietly losing steam year after year while nobody tells you it's even happening. The pills my doctor handed me gave me headaches, made my chest feel tight, and honestly, they made me feel like I needed a pill just to feel like a man. I wasn't willing to live like that. There's a gentler way to bring those systems back, without any of that. At 83, my wife and I aren't roommates anymore. I'll show you exactly what changed it in this video. And if you want the simple support I personally use, there's a free presentation linked in the description below. So here's what I actually started doing before bed, after giving up on everything flashier. A small glass of pure pomegranate juice, unsweetened, not the sugary supermarket version. There's a small clinical study where a group of healthy men drank about 2 cups a day for 2 weeks and showed a meaningful rise in testosterone by the end. It was a small study and a short one. Researchers are still studying this. And I want to be honest about that. But pomegranate is also rich in polyphenols, compounds linked to greater nitric oxide activity, the exact molecule that opens up blood flow where it's needed. Having it before bed specifically fit naturally into a quiet, wind-down routine, instead of one more pill to remember during a busy, hectic day. I'd pour it while my wife was finishing up the dishes, and it became something almost peaceful. The complete opposite of the anxious, secretive way I used to take those other products, hidden in a drawer, taken when nobody was watching. I built a little more around it because no single thing carries all the weight. Better sleep, since hormone production happens mostly overnight. Less alcohol, since it's hard on circulation when overdone. A walk most mornings outside in real daylight, supporting that same hormonal rhythm from the other end of the day. I gave it real time, too, a couple of months instead of expecting a miracle in a week the way I had with everything before it. That patience was the hardest part, honestly. Years of chasing quick fixes had trained me to expect immediate results or nothing at all, and unlearning that expectation took almost as much effort as building the actual habits did. A few weeks ago, my wife and I spent an evening with no plans at all, just dinner and quiet conversation, and there was no hesitation in how the night unfolded. That's the part nobody tells you. It's not about one dramatic result. It's about the worry simply not being there anymore. We ended up talking until almost midnight, longer than we usually stay up, just because neither of us wanted the evening to end. I think about a man named Raymond who wrote in after one of these videos, 79, who told me he'd spent over $1,000 across a few years on products that never delivered, before he ever heard the actual mechanism explained in plain terms. He said understanding why something this ordinary could matter is what finally got him to try it, after everything flashier had let him down. He told me the hardest part wasn't even the money, it was the years of quietly feeling foolish every time another product failed. Raymond said something that stuck with me, that he'd started to dread opening his own mailbox, never knowing whether the next box arriving would be another empty promise. He told me that once he understood the actual mechanism, the whole tone of his search changed, from desperate to genuinely curious, which felt like its own kind of relief separate from anything physical. If you're on medication for blood pressure or your heart, please hear this clearly. Nothing here replaces your treatment, and you should never stop or change a medication on your own. Always mention anything new to your doctor, since some natural approaches to nitric oxide can interact with certain heart medications, especially nitrate-based ones. A 5-minute conversation that costs nothing and protects you. What I want you to walk away with is this. After trying things I'm not proud of, what actually worked was the most ordinary thing on the list. Not because it's magic, but because it actually supports the real mechanism, instead of promising to fix everything overnight. I think that's the real lesson buried inside all those wasted years and wasted dollars. The loudest promises are almost always the least trustworthy, and the quietest, most ordinary explanations, the ones grounded in an actual mechanism you can understand, are usually the ones worth your time and your money. Your erections don't disappear just because you got older. They fade when the systems behind them, blood flow, nitric oxide, hormones, energy, and recovery, slowly stop getting the support they need. Ignore that long enough, and it becomes harder to reverse. That's why I take this concentrated formula every morning. Not one ingredient trying to fix everything, but several working together to support circulation, energy, and drive from the inside out. It's a natural, doctor-backed protocol designed to support pathways your body already knows how to use. No prescription, nothing artificial. Stronger, present, confident again. And unlike the pills I tried, I didn't feel disconnected from my own body. No headaches, just steady, gradual change. My wife noticed before I even said a word. The presentation is linked right below this video. It won't replace your doctor or a healthy lifestyle. It's simply there to support your body. At 83, my wife and I aren't roommates anymore, and it's not too late for you. I think about the man I was, chasing one disappointing product after another, more embarrassed each time. And I think about the man I am now, 83 years old, who found something ordinary that actually does exactly what it claims. That's not vanity, that's dignity. Being the man who's still in command of his own body, instead of the man who's still chasing the next ad late at night. If you've ever tried something you weren't proud of, hoping it would finally be the answer, tell me about it in the comments below. I think more of us have done that than anyone admits out loud, and there's no shame in it. I've been exactly there myself. And if ordinary, honest explanations are what you're after instead of another miracle claim, go ahead and subscribe. There's more of this ahead every single week, and I read every comment personally.